Hey, thank you so much for stopping by our Squad YouTube channel. I'm Josh. I'm our youth pastor here at Squad. Squad is our youth group at Crosspoint Church, and I wanted to first of all invite you to Squad Wednesday nights at 6:30 here at Crosspoint Church. But also, before you listen to this message, make sure that you subscribe and share. That way we can get this message out to as many people as possible. But again, thank you so much for stopping by. We hope that you enjoy this week's message from Squad at Crosspoint Church. Hey Squad, thanks so much for stopping by. I wanted to take a moment and introduce this week's speaker. He helped join me in delivering this message where we're talking about our identity and being positive in our series, I Am Positive. And so Charles Massey is just an awesome guy, senior at Jackford High School, about to graduate. But he sat down to talk about his story and finding his identity and it shifting from basketball into what God is having him do. So thank you so much, Charles, for helping us out. But enjoy this week's message as we pick it up with mine and Charles's conversation here at Squad. Hope you enjoy it. After Squad, he goes to the back of the church, to the coffee shop, and says, "Hey, I want to pay for everybody's pizza." And I was like, this man. Right now, he's probably not going to do that tonight, so don't bank on that. Don't be like, I'm going to just wait for my pizza, right? But I knew that there was something different about this guy. I was like, man, that's a generous heart. Like, you don't know everyone here. And he just said, hey, I want to pay for everybody. And so that's the kind of guy that Charles was. I was like, man, I need to get to know this guy. And I did. And so I've got to learn a little bit of his story, and I'm just excited that you're going to share that with this man. So,
yes.
So without further ado, so Charles, we're talking about this David character. He has God's calling on his life. He gets anointed to be king. And then all of a sudden it gets taken away from him because now he's on the run from his palace, from his friends. So tell us a little bit about your story and how you had your identity in basketball.
Right.
And then that was taken away. So tell us about that.
So my story, it starts way back in Japan. That's where I was born and raised. I lived there for about 6 or 7 years, and I had the perfect childhood. I mean, it was amazing. I was a leader within the community.
Oh, cool.
I was exceptional in the classroom as well as on the court.
Of course.
And I naturally gravitated towards people and vice versa. People just really loved to be around me. And it was a great time. It was the best childhood you could ask for. Mm-hmm. And my parents, they were both in the military, both retired. We came to North Carolina, and I was very excited about the move. And I remember just being so excited for my first day of 5th grade. And when I walked in, it was an immediate, just kind of like vibe that I didn't fit in. I was somewhat of an outcast. I was tall, I was very awkward, and
it's 5th grade.
Kids, when you are someone who doesn't usually fit in, it's very easy to point you out and to make you feel even less right. And so it was a lot of bullying in the classroom where I first excelled at. And it was a lot of bullying on the court because coming from Japan to North Carolina, you realize that the talent really increases. So these two safe havens for me, the court and the classroom, the things I would call, my go-tos whenever I'm having a bad day or whenever things aren't going right for me, they're not there for me anymore.
Right.
And that'll do a lot to a kid.
Oh yeah.
That'll really mess you up. And so I had to start asking myself, what am I going to do? What am I going to do to start fitting in? How am I going to go about to impress my peers? And so what I decided to do was put my all into basketball. And I became somebody who I wasn't. I became the quote-unquote jock. I became the kid who was the star basketball player over time. My skills developed. And that's what got me attention and everything. That's what got me, popularity. That's what got me girls. And that's what I stuck with. I was like, it's working, so if it's not broken, don't fix it. So
got to shoot that shot, right? That's what I was like, all right.
So I did that. And times really got good. My sophomore year, I was having a little bit of a falling out with my coach. Mm-hmm. And I was really on the verge of kind of blowing up here within Fayetteville. And I had the confidence in myself. Luckily, my parents had the confidence in me. They said, we're going to take you to a different school. We don't think that Jackford's the best option for you. So I was blessed and fortunate enough to find a school within Fayetteville Academy and a wonderful coach named Coach Strong. And the school and the coach, they really took me in. And they showed me, a glimpse that, we do care. There are people out there who do care, and they had my back. And so obviously I felt obligated to to put on for them. I wanted to, through basketball, I thought God was showing me through Fayetteville Academy that this is what I'm calling you to do. This is what I want you to do. And so I took that and embraced it with open arms. I said, this is my purpose. This is what I'm meant to do, and I'm going to go all out with it. And it started great. I met a lot of great people there, a lot of them who I'm still in contact with today, and I loved the experience. I was in the summer going into my junior year, and we were killing it in the summer league. I mean, we were good.
I can attest to that because we scrimmaged, Charles, and I remember looking over at Fayetteville Academy, and I was like, dang, these guys are legit. Like before I ever took the floor, Austin might remember, like we looked at Methodist,
right?
And I was like, that guy's big, right? Yeah. So y'all, it was a good match.
Was a great
y'all
experience.
were
a great
good.
Experience.
Yeah.
But
my fault. Go ahead.
No, you're good. But seemingly out of nowhere, it was an ordinary Friday afternoon. I was at practice, messing around with some of the guys. We were scrimmaging for a local AAU team. It's like an amateur athletic union that you can play travel basketball for. And I just went up for a random block. I was like, I'm gonna pin it against the backboard. That's what I like to call it. I jump real high, so that's what I do, right? So I went up and I blocked it. It was a clean block. It was good. And the next thing I know, I'm coming down, and I look over to my left leg, and I see that it's bent at an awkward angle. And I'm like, that's not good. That's not right.
Look right.
Legs don't do that. And in that moment, you're thinking, surely this can't be happening to me, right, God? You putting me on my purpose. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to blow up with basketball.
Yeah, everything's going good right now.
Surely, this is just like a sprain or something like that. Everything's going to be all right. So my dad rushes me to the ER. We get to the ER. The lady there says, you're going to be all right. It's just a knee sprain. Everything's going to be all right. A couple weeks, you can come back, and we'll definitely clear you to play basketball again. A couple weeks go by, and my knee's still swollen like a watermelon. So we go to see my personal doctor. Personal doctor's like, yeah, you'll be all right. I just got to put a couple shots in your knee. That was a horrible experience. I hated that. That was some of the most scariest moments of my life, putting shots in your knee. But after the whole ordeal was over with, he said, wait a couple weeks and you'll be able to be cleared for basketball and everything will be all right. And that was going on about a month now. Things still weren't getting better with my knee. My parents started to get really concerned. And so what we did was we went to an outside doctor to seek for opinion on what's going on. And he's the one who broke the news to me. He said, I'm sorry, son, but you tore your ACL and completely tore your meniscus. And you won't be playing anytime soon. And so that was like a shot to me. It's like, what? You're seriously going to tell me this after I just transferred to a school and I just got acclimated to some really cool people. And I'm killing on the court. Like I'm really starting to feel myself now.
I blocked the guy clean, and this happened. Yeah, absolutely.
And it was like unbelievable. And so he gave us some slither of hope. He said the recovery time is 6 to 12 months, and a lot of people do come back within that 6-month period. So as a way to almost like keep me afloat. My parents, my coach, my teammates, the school, we all got behind the 6-month period. We said, Charles is going to be back by 6 months, and he's going to be better than ever before, and everything's going to be all right. And over the course of the recovery process, things weren't going all right. My knee was constantly swelling. I couldn't even get into physical therapy at times because the pain was so bad. The doctor had finally pulled me into his office, and he said, we're sorry to inform you, but we don't know what's going on with your knee. You might have to have a second surgery, and we're talking about now, he was saying that you might be out for a year and a couple months. You might miss 2 years. You might not even play your high school, in your high school career. And that's when things just went downhill, because I didn't feel completely lost at first, because it was like you had a set date for when I can come back. Yeah. But now you're telling me you don't even know when I can play the sport that I love again. Yeah. Right? You're telling me that this is my purpose. This is what I do. This is me. And you're telling me that I can't return to this whenever I feel like it. You're telling me that you're going to take this away from me, right? And I was devastated. I was lost. I was depressed. I was in some really dark times. I shut myself out from friends, from family, from everybody. And It was a horrible time. It was a very, very difficult time.
So in that process of time, so the thing you love that you have your identity in basketball is just taken away. So in that, where did you find your identity again? Because we put it in so much stuff, we put it in areas. So how did you find the new Charles? How did you get your identity back in something else?
Well, the new Charles came about because of my rock. And that's my mom. My mom,
yeah, okay,
she's
Mom.
always been there for me.
Shout out to Mom.
My mom's always been there for me. She's always known what to do and what to say. And, you know, when it became clear that this wasn't going to be something that was promised again, basketball, she came to me one day when I was in my room just sitting there doing nothing. And she said, you know, you can't give up. You know, giving up is not an option. You know, you can't just say, I quit here.
Yeah.
You know, you have to find something to get you back on track. You know, and I believe that you'll find that. She left, and I was like, you know, the least I can do is for her. I can find something different. I can find something to replace basketball for the time being. So I talked to her, I talked to my brother, and we got on the idea of self-growth. You know, there was a lot of mistakes I was making at that point in my life, especially with being very secluded from others. Right. And I said, you know, let me start there. Let me start small, and let me see where this goes. And slowly, very slowly, but over time, I was able to mend a lot of relationships that were very broken. I was able to get closer with my friends. I was able to get closer with my family. I was able to get closer with myself. I was able to get back to that childlike self that I had back in Japan, where I was very happy and I was very carefree. And most importantly, I knew who Charles was. And I was starting to understand that again. I was starting to understand that Charles isn't just basketball. Charles isn't some dumb jock. So Charles isn't some athlete. You know, that was part of me. But the real me was somebody who wanted to help others. Right. Somebody who wants to be a leader. Someone who wants to lead by example. And I feel that God placed me in that situation where I was taken away from basketball to tell me, Charles, I need you to go a different direction. You're going this way, but I need you to go this way. And so I'd say the definitive, clear answer was when I had a dream one night. And it's kind of ironic. It was much like a situation like this right now, where I was on a stage and I had a mic in my hand, and I had a topic I was talking about to a crowd, and I was very passionate about it. And I was yelling and I was screaming. I was. You
can yell and scream at them. It's cool. They love that. It's good.
And it was from the heart. It was real. It was me, and they loved it. And people were congratulating me as I was leaving from the stage. And I woke up in that instant. And I was like, you know, it was pretty cool. That was like just as cool as basketball was, right? That was really nice. I said, God, you know, if for some chance you're trying to tell me that this is supposed to be the path I'm supposed to take, you know, please show me, you know. And the next night I had the same dream, but more vivid. And I was like, this has got to mean something. So I got real excited. I started telling my friends and my family. I was like, you know, this is going to sound crazy, you know, but I don't want to play basketball anymore. And everyone's like, what? You don't want to play basketball anymore? Right? It's like, you've been doing this for years now. This is you. You know, they're like, you know, stop being crazy. You know, you just had a minor setback. You know, they say a minor setback sets you up for a greater comeback. They're like, you know,
retweet.
You know, don't get crazy now. You know, how are you supposed to start public speaking? Like, what is that even? A lot of people were like very confused by that. But I was like, you know, I really think God talked to me those 2 nights. I really think He was telling me that I need you to get accustomed to yourself again. I need you to find yourself again. And that's what really brought about this newfound Charles, someone who is trying to reinvent themselves and to be a better person and to be Charles, to be himself.
Good deal. So essentially it went from something temporary like basketball, because like I've told my players when I was coaching, that at some point you will play your last quarter. And so that's come to an end. Now you've got to like almost refine yourself. What's my new identity? And God shows up, gives you this dream. And so now it's like, I have this new calling.
Right.
And so, and He starts setting a path from, hey, it's not over there, it's right here. So here's last question for you. During that entire process, because this wasn't a short time, right? This took months and years. Yeah.
A lot of
And so what is it that you learned in that struggle, in that season, in that process of going from dream taken away, kind of a newfound dream, and what I feel like God's calling me to do and directing me to do? So what did you learn that maybe our squad here tonight can pick up from that?
Wow, that's a big question.
You're a big guy, though.
Wow. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think the biggest thing that I took away from the journey that I was on for that period of time was that you never give up on God. Mm-hmm. God always has a plan for you.
You better preach, boy. You better.
God. I tell the youth group that we have all the time in the VIP room. I tell them that God must be getting annoyed with me because I always count him out sometimes. I'll always be like, God, you know, are you going to get me through this? Are you going to get me through this? And I feel like sometimes he's like, come on, man, I got this. I got this. But I think definitely I learned through that ordeal because there were some really dark times. Mm-hmm. But God never let me get too low. He always was there for me. He was there for me when I really needed someone to understand. And that's the biggest thing, I think, understanding that you should never give up on God. And I think another big thing I found was that you have to find who you are. Mm-hmm. I feel personally that happiness revolves around knowing who you are as a person and staying true to that. And not letting someone make you feel less of a person. Yeah. Because they don't see your same views or they don't share the same characteristics as you. Mm-hmm. I feel that, not only just happiness but confidence, you know who you are as a person that comes when you decide to embrace who you are. And I feel like purpose is also within that. I feel God has a gift for everyone. I feel like everyone sitting in here has a gift that God gave them. You have something special in you that God has asked you to come to this earth and do. Because you're here for a reason. Mm-hmm. I feel like everyone is here for a reason. Yeah. And I think that when you take your purpose and you identify who you are, and you walk with confidence, and you take the time, most importantly, to understand that you go through that process. You go through those dark times. Mm-hmm. You go through that struggle, but you come out of that a better person. I feel like that aligns you to do God's word for you, God's service. I feel like we're all on this earth to provide service for others and to carry out God's will.
There you go. Good deal. Man, that's awesome. So, a great story. Lose identity, find identity, and in that whole struggling process, you see the purpose through it all. Right. That's an amazing story. Hey, can we put our hands together one more time for Mr. Charles? Mr. Charles, the man. Appreciate you. Hey, keep it going. And Isaiah, could you come up and play a little something for us? So I know that many of you in the room, there are a couple of takeaways you may take, because I know we have some people in here who are good at sports, good at school. There's like this thing that you're really good at. It's a hobby. It's a habit. You've poured money into it. And so you have this question. So Josh, are you trying to say that I shouldn't do any extracurricular activities? I shouldn't invest my time in sports? That is not what this message is about. This message is about how you do each of those things. And so for Charles's example, Charles was a basketball player. And that's how he found his identity. But then when that's taken away, what are you left with? Now you have to find your own self. Even Dwayne Wade in a recent interview said that after he retires, he's going to have to go talk to somebody. He wants to go to therapy so he can talk to someone about who am I now, because I'm retired from basketball and that's what I've known all my life. At some point you'll play your last quarter. At some point you'll go to your last class. At some point that temporary thing that you had your identity in will end. I want your identity to be in something permanent. Your identity should be in who God is, because God created you. God knows you the best out of anybody. And so if I'm like Charles and my identity was in basketball and then it comes to an end, now Charles would say, like, I'm not a basketball player. So if that's your sport, don't be a basketball player. If it's soccer, don't be a soccer player. Like for me, I'm not a youth pastor. I'm a Christian. I'm a Christ follower who talks to students. I'm not a husband. I'm a Christian married to Marissa. Let me correct that. I am the Christian. I am the Christ follower married to Marissa. So you're not a soccer player. Be a Christian. Be a Christ follower who plays soccer. Because here's what that does. It gives you the David effect. David didn't go up to the king's daughter and say, hey, girl, how you doing? He didn't do that. David didn't go up to the troops and say, hey, guys, you should vote for me, class president, most likely to succeed. Like all the superlatives, come to me. David did what David had always done in private. And then when he carried that with him in public where others could see it, it just put on display what he had done all his life. That's all he knew. And so when you're worshiping God in private, when God is you're in a relationship with God in private, when you step out in public, I'm still the same guy. Whenever I was told, hey, protect the sheep, like what would you have done if you're watching this flock of sheep and then all of a sudden this bear comes out of the woods and starts going after one of the sheep? You do the same thing I would do. Hey, yo, Dad, yeah, we down one. This bear came out and took one. But when you're David and you were given this direction of, hey, protect the sheep, okay, God, I'm going to need you to do this. I can't do this myself because that's a huge bear, right? That's a huge lion. I can't do this. When I put it in God and I have this relationship with God, everything I do goes through God. So now I'm not just a basketball player. I'm a Christ follower. And when I go to practice, I'm going to practice with the mentality, God, I'm doing this for you. This is a part of worship for me. I want you to get the glory from this game. And that's why I tell people after a game, hey, glory goes to God. All these athletes who signed to go to college, hey, I just want to first thank my Lord and Savior. He gave me this platform. He gave me this ability. I'm not a football player. I'm a Christ follower who plays football. So what's your identity in? Don't let it be in something temporary. Don't let it be in who you're dating. Because guess what? Like PT said a couple weeks ago, the people who are with you may not be for you at all times. That's what happened to David. The king was like, hey, all right, you go fight him. Here's my armor because I need you to win. The king said, hey, you just beat him. Thank you. Hey, come hang out with me. Stay at the palace. My daughter likes you. My other daughter likes you too. My son wants to hang out with you. Hey, be in charge of my soldiers. Now you could take the kingdom from me. I need you to get away. They may turn on you. But when my faith is in God, when my identity is in who God has called me to be, no one else can call me back. I'm going to do the same thing in public that I did in private, and God will honor that. So let your identity be in that. I'm not the prettiest, I'm not the funnest, I'm not the funniest, I'm not the cutest, I'm not the smartest, I'm not the fastest, you're what God called you to be. And so I want you to make sure you know this before you go today. God made you, God knows you, and God wants you just as you are. That's what God does. So God is the permanent thing that you should find your identity in. And something Charles said that when we were meeting together, and then I'm going to close and tell you what we're going to do for the rest of the night, another surprise for you. Charles said this, because Charles is wise. Charles is much smarter than me. Charles said, you have to separate who you are from what you do. That's Charles' wisdom. Words of Charles. But you have to separate who you are from what you do. You're not what you do. Your identity is in how you do it. When I study for a message, and I'm doing it for God, to give God glory in that and to honor God in that, that's who I am. When I'm trying to be the best husband I can be, yes, for Marissa, but also to give God honor in our marriage, that's the identity of Josh. When I'm trying to be a good dad, yes, for Lennox, but to honor God and the gift that he gave me in Lennox, that's my identity. It's in the how you do what you do. And then the last thing, David had it, Charles had it when he went through this struggle. Who helped Charles get his identity? It was God and his squad. We all need a squad around us. David had troops. David had the king's son. David had the king's daughter. He had a small squad around him that could help direct him, because you do need a tight-knit group around you that can speak truth to you. I've got a tight-knit group around me. I will share with them. I will open up with them. And I want truth from them. I know I can go to them for truth. I can't go to everybody for truth. I can go to them for truth. You need that. You need a squad. So after your small groups, here's what I want us to do. I want us to line up right here in whatever order. You just come in whenever you're done with your small group, and the middle school girls are done in here. And whoever your squad is, we're going to move these chairs out of the way. Take a picture in front of this. Take a picture in front of this backdrop. That's why we have it, and it's going to be in the lobby, in the cafe room for all our squads. So if you ever want to, you bring someone else and you want to say, hey, let's take a picture first, it's going to be there. Take a picture, and this is why I want you to take a picture, because you're going to need a reminder. When it's dark, when you feel like you have no one, and you feel separated from everyone, go to that picture. Make it your lock screen. Make it the background of your social media page. Post it, tweet it, whatever it is. Put it out there. Make it public to say, this is my squad. And it's not to say that, hey, you're not invited to this. It's a reminder that I can go to these people. So your squad groups, I can go to that person. Your squad leader, I can go to that person, whoever it is. Call your mom up. Mom, come to the church. I need you to take a picture with me. I'm just kidding. She would need a background check before she can be around the students, but that's another story. But get your squad together and take a picture right here. Don't do the glam. Hey, can I get a sun rosacea kind of orange lighting real quick? And that's not what it's about. It's just a picture. We'll take the picture for you real quick. One shot. If your eyes were open or closed, it doesn't matter. It's who's in the picture. Next, right? That's what we want to do so that you remember that you have a squad. So, if you would, bow your head, close your eyes. I want to pray for us.